Revolution in Nepal. Young people being told that social media would be banned have revolted, torching parliament, forcing resignation, killing lots of people. I believe the report right now is around 19 dead. The number's probably increased. There's insane viral video of what is reportedly the wife of a minister burned to death. It's absolutely insane what we are seeing out of Nepal. Now, many people have reported communist flags are being torn down. The government is heavily influenced, though it is a parliamentary republic. It's controlled by communist political parties with communist agendas. Videos purporting to show a finance minister stripped naked and forced to wade through a river. It's getting pretty intense. And again, all because they sought to ban social media, because the media companies, the social media companies, would not suppress key information, what they deem to be mis- and disinformation. Now, some have expected or suspect this could result in some kind of widespread Arab Spring type moment in the region. I'm not entirely convinced. Others, Times of India argues, this is a deep state coup. Now, I don't know. I'm just some guy on the internet reading the news and looking at pictures. But I will say this. I have friends who have already told me that certain people I know people in Nepal and have worked with people in the region, and they say, oh, it's going down. It is happening. And there is a concern, however, for us that what we see online is still controlled. And you got to understand that when it comes to the interest of the rules-based economic order, one of the plays is always claim the people are being oppressed, they're fighting against an evil machine, and then show all these videos that make it seem like the whole country is erupting when it may actually be targeted. I don't think that's the case here. This looks like it is a genuine revolution, and the prime minister has already resigned. This is not some run-of-the-mill protest made to look more serious than it is. Some of the videos of the death and the chaos are shocking. As many are saying, it's a revolution against communism. So we got a lot to break down, my friends, as we rip through this story. There's also some crazy news, Israel bombing Qatar, targeting Hamas leadership in Doha, which is absolutely nuts. But we'll talk about this one first. And then, of course, later on, we'll be getting into the issue of the Irina Zarutska story continues. And now many people are bringing up the issue of interracial violence in this country and what it means. Before we get into the news, my friends, we got a great sponsor. It is Tax Network USA. Go to tnusa.com/Tim, and you will get, they'll help you out with your taxes. Check this out. If you're stressed about back taxes, my friends, maybe you missed the April deadline. Your books maybe are a mess. Don't wait. The IRS is cracking down. Penalties add up fast. 5% for a month, up to 25% just for not filing. But there is help. Tax Network USA can take the burden off your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They've helped thousands of Americans, whether you're an employee, a small business owner, or haven't filed in years. Messy books, no problem. They've seen it all. They know exactly how to clean it up. With direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators on your side, Tax Network USA knows how to win. You get a free consultation, and if you qualify, they may even be able to reduce or eliminate what you owe. More importantly, they'll help protect you from wage garnishment or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Call 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Tim to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. Take the pressure off. Let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues. And also, my friends, don't forget to go to timcast.com, click join us to get involved. We need you in the Discord server, man. That is our community membership program. We're working on getting that Discord chat up on the front page when we go live. Your conversation side by side with the show. And of course, with the Rumble Premium, uncensored, Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m., your chats appear on screen. What you have to say will be a part of that show. Not to mention, we've got community events, an official newsletter, and you as members help make all of this possible. So if you like what we do, especially in the non-political offseason, we need you to join us at timcast.com. But let's get into the breaking news right now and talk about this revolution in Nepal. Young people rising up and saying no to the manipulation from a communist government who wants to tell them what they can or cannot think. NPR reports Nepal's prime minister resigns after protests against corruption and social media ban. In Kathmandu, Nepal's prime minister resigned Tuesday following violent protests against a ban on social media platforms and government corruption. Khadga Prasad Ali said he was stepping down immediately. His resignation came after protesters set fire to the homes of some of Nepal's top political leaders in opposition to a social media ban that was lifted early Tuesday, a day after the deadly anti-government protests when police opened fire and killed 19 people. Local reports and videos shared on social media showed protesters attacking residences of the top political leaders in and around Kathmandu. A curfew was imposed in the capital, and other cities and schools in Kathmandu were closed. Now, I've got a ton of videos, some of which we can't actually show because they are too graphic. Take a look at this image of a fire. Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen says, "Are we one hard landing away from an economic populist Zoomer uprising? They just burned the Nepal parliament, forced the prime minister to resign, and burned his wife alive, all while waving One Piece flags." Wait, what? Wait, for real? The anime? Take a look at this video. Radio Genoa says, in Nepal, citizens capture communist politicians and throw them into the river. This is insane, what we are seeing. Now, it's not a very deep river. I believe the man is still able to stand up. He's crawling. You can see it's only about a couple feet. And in some of these videos, they strip the politicians of their clothes. I believe this might be the guy. And they force him to march through the water. We've got more videos, of course. Check out this one from Radio Genoa. In Nepal, homes of communist politicians are set on fire. Check this out. I don't know where this music is coming from. Wow. That's wild. You know, I'll say a few things. We've got a lot more to show. Take a look at this. This is Parliament. Ian Miles Chong tweeting, Nepal is having total revolution as young people overthrow the communist government following efforts by that government to impose widespread censorship and a total ban on social media. Take a look at this. We got this one. All right, let's reload. X has given us the business. They've always been like this. The videos always struggle to play. Take a look at this. This is Parliament engulfed in flames, thick black and gray smoke, choking out the sky. You can barely see the building. Thousands of people in the streets. It takes a lot to get to this point. Now, this is a video from Visegrad 24. I can't play it for you. I can't play it for you. They say, Raj Yalaxmi Chitrakar, wife of former Nepali Prime Minister Jalanath Kanal, has died after being set on fire in her home. She was rushed to the hospital in critical condition but succumbed to her injuries. Jalanath Kanal was rescued by the Nepali army before the house was set on fire. It's just brutal. Take a look at this one. This is insane. Nepal's finance minister stripped of clothes. He's actually fully clothed here. I don't know, they say stripped of clothes. And chased into a river by angry protesters during deadly anti-corruption protests. I want y'all to understand what it takes to get to a point like this in a country and what it means for those that don't want to be involved in that conflict. I'll tell you, you don't want to live in a place entrenched in violence. You don't want to live in places that are undergoing civil war and revolution. You may want a change in your country, but trust me when I say, and I'm not even the foremost expert on these things, you don't want to live there. You don't want to have to deal with this. It is terrifying to see things like this. Now, I will say it like this, okay? This is the important thing to understand. It must have gotten so bad that the people chose this violence over the way they were living. And that's the important thing to understand when I say you don't want to live like this. A lot of these leftists, these far left revolutionary cosplayers and LARPers, live action role play, the moment it actually breaks down, they cry. They can't stand, they cannot take it, and they don't know how to live. In their minds, it's a movie. It's a video game. The revolutionaries storming the Capitol, cheering and celebrating as now they can have whatever they want. That's never how it goes. As hard as it is today, it will only be harder tomorrow in a revolution. I know I've been mentioning it quite a bit, but it really was a great interview, Patrick Bet-David, with these 20 anti-capitalists. And there's one really great moment where he's trying to argue with the woman, but she's an angry and stupid person. I'm not saying that to disparage her. It's a fact. She is completely stupid. She is emotional and unable to recognize why she's wrong. She says she blames millionaire Patrick Bet-David for the problems she faces. And no matter how much he says he grew up poor and he succeeded through great effort, she says, I don't care. I literally don't care. You don't matter anymore. She argues that she should just get things for free. And that's the concern about revolutions, is that when you have a large body of angry people, it's not a question of whether they're right in their principal issue. It's a question of, can they organize the system better? And I'll make this point. This is not to say that revolution should always be resisted. That's not correct either. Sometimes revolution is necessary. The point is, in situations like this in Nepal, it will only get worse. That's the understanding. The question you must ask yourself when you see things like this, is it worth it? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. We've got these videos. Let me show you. Crazy. Here's a video from RT showing more fires and destruction. And of course, then we have this image and, of course, the One Piece flags. Is that really what that is? Nepal foreign minister kicked, punched in the face amid violent protest. The shocking video shows Arzu Diuba wiping blood from her face, surrounded by protesters filming her. Soon after, the clip shows a 63-year-old getting kicked from behind and punched in the face by angry protesters. It's just getting absolutely nuts. Now, here's the story. Here's where this all begins. Nepal internet crackdown, part of global trend towards suppressing online freedom. This is crazy. Crazy. Nepal's crackdown on social media companies, which led to protest and police killing at least 19, is part of a years-long decline of internet freedoms around the world as even democracies seek to curtail online speech. The Himalayan country's government said last week it was blocking several social media platforms, including Facebook, X, and YouTube, because the companies failed to comply with a requirement that they register with the government. The ban was lifted Tuesday, a day after the deadly protests. What's happening in Nepal mirrors the broader pattern of controlling the narrative and controlling the stories emerging from the ground, said Aditya Vashistha, an assistant professor of information science at Cornell University. This has happened several times in the neighboring countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So this is nothing new. In fact, I would say this is taken from the playbook, which is now very established, of trying to control social media narratives. I'll push back with this. How much or what I ask you guys, comments, and let me know what you think. Do you believe this is an organic uprising? Very well, maybe. I'm not saying it's not. Or do you believe that liberal economic order interests are intentionally pushing narratives in these countries to invoke revolution, which would then favor the rules-based economic order, they call it, or the liberal economic order? That is, Western powers, the U.S. government, NATO, etc. They go on to say it's a broader pattern, not just in Nepal. Like neighboring countries, Nepal's government has been asking the companies to appoint a liaison in the country. Officials are calling for laws to monitor social media and ensure both the users and operators are responsible and accountable for what they share. But the move has been criticized as a tool for censorship and punishing opponents who voice their protests online. Governments absolutely have a valid interest in seeking to regulate social media platforms. This is such a daily part of our lives and in our business. And it is certainly reasonable for authorities to sit down and say, we want to develop rules for the road, said Kian Vesteinson, senior research analyst for technology and democracy at the Washington-based nonprofit Freedom House. But what we see in Nepal is that wholesale blocks as a means of enforcing a set of rules for social media companies results in wildly disproportionate harms. These measures that were put in place in Nepal cut tens of millions of people off from platforms that they use to express themselves, to conduct daily business, to speak with their families, to go to school, to get healthcare information. It's not just Nepal. Freedom House has found that global internet freedom has declined for the 14th consecutive year. I don't know what that means, to be completely honest. In 2024, as governments crack down on dissent and people face arrest for expressing political, social, or religious views online. While China consistently tops the list as the world's worst environment for internet freedom, last year Myanmar shared this designation as well. The organization did not track Nepal. I'm curious if they'd like to throw the United Kingdom into the mix, and they can talk to us about why people who post naughty opinions on social media get arrested in the UK, or why an Irish citizen who made posts in the United States and famed comedian Graham Lanahan went to the UK and got arrested upon landing, which is, I warn, possible for each and every one of us Americans who visit the United Kingdom. You could be arrested right when you arrive. They're going to say India passed a telecommunications law in 2023 that gave its government broad powers to restrict online communications and intercept communications, according to Freedom House. 3 years earlier, a sweeping internet law put digital platforms like Facebook under direct government oversight. Officials say the rules are needed to quell misinformation and hate speech, and to give users more power to flag objectionable content. But critics cautioned it would lead to censorship in a country where digital freedoms have already been shrinking. Now, I've got some pretty interesting and strong opinions on this, to be completely honest. We've got some time. What to know about the deadly Gen Z protest over a social media ban and Nepo kids in Nepal. We are all social media lovers. Say no to corruption. We pay you flex enough now. Our future is not for sale. Gen Z, I don't know what that word says. I don't speak, I don't know what language they speak. Nepalese, I have no idea. Now, many people have pointed out it's a communist government, and it is a parliamentary republic. However, their parliamentary system is dominated by the Communist Party of Nepal, the Unified Marxist-Leninists, and the Communist Party of Nepal Maoist Center. Not to mention the People's Socialist Party. You get it. Now, I've got questions. The Times of India says, is Nepal unrest organic or deep state regime change? Decoding Ali's ouster. Now, not like I'm going to trust the Times of India, but I certainly think nuance in the conversation around this is incredibly important, because we do know that the United States government does engage in social media psychological operations to manipulate the public of various countries for political gain. It's not just going in and taking over. It's not just assassinations. It's not just on the ground fomenting of revolution, like we saw USAID being accused of. It is the manipulation of narratives through social media algorithms and content for the purpose of creating a government and country that would be favorable to Western powers. I will say this. The reason why I lean towards this is probably organic ouster of communists is that USAID has been completely destroyed. It's been dismantled, defunded, and this is coming now several months after it was already on the rocks. So I doubt the U.S. has any strong means. That being said, it's possible these campaigns have existed for years, and there is, I think, a strong argument for national sovereignty. Nepal has a right to say, we don't want you disseminating this information in our country. I think they have that right. Take a look at what's happening in the United States with TikTok in China. As much as many people don't want to admit it, and conservatives are just getting on the bandwagon with Trump, it is a fact. TikTok bans conservatives, but conservatives get just the tiniest morsel, and for that, they accept it. Now, call me sour grapes, I suppose. We've been basically blacklisted from TikTok. Not only have all our accounts been banned, whenever we make new ones, banned, and when we reach out to people who claim to have ins at TikTok, nope. They say, no, we're not letting Tim Pool on this platform. It's not going to happen. Why? No reason. They don't tell us. We're certainly not any kind of conspiracy company or anything like that. We are anti-establishment. Maybe it's because we're anti-woke. The narrative that you get from Beijing-controlled TikTok in the United States, it boils the brains of Gen Z in this country. And what would happen if you banned it? So I take a look at it like this. The argument that we get in the United States from the pro-TikTok crowd is that it's censorship, it's controlling the narrative, we should be allowed. And my argument is we should be in control. I have no problem with TikTok existing, but it should be controlled by U.S. interests. That is to say, U.S. interests probably will still manipulate the narrative to control population and their views, sure, but at least we have some kind of recourse. For a country like Nepal, for India, for China, for whoever else, they're saying the United States pushing their narratives on us violates their national sovereignty. That being said, the United States is substantially better than all these countries. Our media is better than their countries, and you're more likely to get the truth on our platforms than their platforms. And there's a lot of evil people that are trying, communists, for instance, to censor the narrative from so that people can't see it. In this regard, what do I think is really happening? I think communists control the Nepalese government. Young people know that the only way they can get access to real information, because communists are going to lie, is through social media. And so they said no. But let's read this and see what the argument is. Frederick Forsyth's icon gave an interesting insight into how the Western-backed powers that be elicit regime changes in countries that don't buy into the rules-based international order. In the book published in 1999, which almost reads like prophecy today, an ex-MI6 spy master recruits a former CIA operative to go deep into Russia to destabilize the rise of a powerful Kremlin politician, eerily similar to Vladimir Putin. In the fictional plot, the plan is to install a czar of all Russia to bring back stability, a poetic turning of the page from communists getting rid of the czars. Similarly, since abolishing the monarchy in 2008, Nepal has seen a host of leaders of various communist leanings come to power, though purists would argue no true communist would participate in democracy instead of an armed revolution. Since bidding adieu to the monarch, the country has seen sustained instability with more than 10 prime ministerial changes, but no proper regime change. The latest Gen Z protests have led many on social media to question whether the uprisings are organic or part of a larger script. A popular social figure tweeted in late 2024 that Nepal would see protests soon, demanding a return to the monarchy, which would intensify the following year. The theory was that the unrest was part of a deep state attempt to engineer regime change in South Asia. Users pointed out that India's neighborhood, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Myanmar, Nepal, had all seen regime changes in recent years, with one even cheekily calling it the Asia Cup of regime change. Another popular handle wondered if regime change via street protests was organic. Some pointed to a viral video of a student in March of 2025 referencing King Birendra's famous quote, "Even if I die, shall my country live on." The speech came in the backdrop of citizens demanding the return of the Hindu monarchy amid political instability, corruption, a cost of living increase, unemployment, and lack of economic development. Others disagreed. One pointed out that the Nepalese were increasingly disillusioned with their democratic options and that the social media decision was a trigger. Skeptics, however, cautioned that linking every South Asia protest from Pakistan to Sri Lanka to Nepal to spy agencies was nothing more than confirmation bias. And honestly, I lean in that direction. Now, look, I'm going to be one of the first to come out and tell you that I can't stand the U.S. regime change machine. I supported Tulsi in 2020, her principal issue being ending regime change wars. I don't mind soft power to a certain degree to push our interests for sure. But if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and the U.S. is involved in overthrowing a country, I'm going to be the first to say it. That being said, let's talk about reality. Aging communist Southeast Asian and South Asian regimes are going to struggle amidst a new generation that wants freedom. And throughout history, we have seen the failures of communism. So in Nepal, when you have a communist-dominated government and young people get pissed off, I go, what did you think was going to happen? Communism does not work and breeds dissent. And they're trying to implement it slowly through a parliamentary system and gaining ground following and only 17 years ago, the fall of monarchy. So people have in their minds what it's like pre-communism. As the monarch falls and this system starts shifting towards communism, these people are going to be like, nah. That's why in most communist revolutions that we've seen, they were violent takeovers. The idea that democratic socialists and communists are going to vote their way into power, that's a tough one. It's possible, but that's a tough one. They say a Nepo Kid campaign dominated platforms, exposing how children of politicians flaunted lavish lifestyles, foreign degrees, luxury cars, while ordinary citizens struggled. Viral TikTok and Reddit posts contrasted privilege with poverty, feeding the sense that corruption and nepotism were suffocating opportunity. I certainly think so. Take a look at this post. Vikram Tripathi says, power belongs to the people, not the privileged few politicians. It's time to kick out politicians who have enjoyed power and people's money for the last 30 years. And they show this video where you can see this woman with a very fancy watch, probably a Rolex. They say the spark came in late August of 25. Nepal's government abruptly blocked 26 major social platforms: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, X, Reddit, and more. And they failed to register with authorities within 7 days. Officials claim the directive was to curb misuse of online platforms for hate speech, fake news, and cybercrime. At midnight on September 4th, Nepal went dark online. The only major global app left untouched was TikTok, owned by China's ByteDance, which had complied by setting up a local office. A handful of smaller services, Viber, WeTalk, Nimbus, Popo Live, also remained accessible. For many young Nepalese, this selective ban smacked of censorship. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty on this. I'm going to say it again. I always think it's important to entertain these ideas. Was it regime change? I'm going to tell you why. Another reason why I don't think it was. The overt and outright banning of all of these social media platforms probably ended the livelihoods of millions, or at least hundreds of thousands. Many young people today make money running businesses online in several ways. For instance, there are a lot of companies that don't make money directly by posting. They'll post a video on Instagram of them perhaps making a pizza. And they don't make money by selling ads against their pizza videos. But people then go to their restaurant. It's their means of advertising. You wake up one day in your band, and all of a sudden business drops because you can't get the word out anymore. Some of these young people make money directly through ads. They'll make videos where they perhaps make pizza. Shout out to Doe Toley, one of the best Instagrammers, making pizza all day at Papa John's. I think that's just an ad for Papa John's, by the way. But some of these influencers, they'll make videos doing whatever. But then they'll promote something on their page and get paid to do it. Imagine one day overnight, you have no choice, but your business is gone. Your money is gone. You're broke. You have no food. You can't pay rent. Stupidest thing Nepal could have done. Because these young people are going to be like, okay, I'm going to be destitute in a month. So what do? They go out and protest. What else can they do? You've taken away their access to food. When you look at the Arab Spring, they pointed out, the experts, the principal cause, there's three things. People need food, security, shelter. They need to be able to eat and know that they can get food. They need somewhere to sleep, and they need to know that they will be secure. What ends up happening is when people in large numbers can't get food, you get riots. If people in large numbers have nowhere to live, you get riots. If people feel insecure, you get riots. So what does that mean? If the average person believes that no matter what they do, the government will beat and arrest them, and so they're constantly living in terror of either anarcho-tyranny or tyranny, you'll get riots. Those things. And the principle, when food prices get too high. So what happens? In Nepal, when you shut down people's access overnight to culture and their economic means, you have just basically said, let's go light speed towards revolution. Now, we don't know ultimately where all of this will end up, my friends. There's a lot of places. The U.S. Embassy in Nepal has issued a warning. State Department issuing a warning saying that the airport's being shut down. There's a curfew in place. So we'll pay attention to this. Some people believe this could ignite other protests, some kind of South Asian spring. Perhaps. Maybe not. But in the meantime, we'll keep an eye on where this goes. And let's just say maybe Gen Z's fed up with communists. Smash that like button, my friends. Share the show with everyone you know. The next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. at youtube.com/Timcast and rumble.com/theculturewar. Check it out. We got more for you, and we'll see you all then.